Today, I'm diving into the crazy world of plants to see if I can actually prove they talk to each other. Plant communication, it's a concept that has fascinated many of us, and it's actually pretty relevant in nature. The idea that plants could be talking to each other is intriguing, to say the least. There's a lot of skepticism surrounding the idea of plant communication, and it's not hard to see why. It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie. Scientists have always had a tough time proving that plants actually communicate with each other, and it's easy to understand why many people are doubtful about the whole thing. The scientific community has always approached this topic with a healthy dose of skepticism, which is understandable given the lack of concrete evidence. People have been studying plant behavior for centuries, and the idea that they could be communicating with each other has only recently started to gain traction. Many experts consider plant communication to be a pseudoscience, and it's not uncommon to see articles and videos debunking the idea entirely. Plants have been observed to release all sorts of chemical signals into the air and soil, which can be detected by other plants. For instance, when one plant is attacked by pests, it can release volatile organic compounds that warn neighboring plants of the danger. These signals can trigger all sorts of responses in plants, from changing their growth patterns to increasing their defenses. Plants also have complex networks of fungi that connect their roots, allowing them to share nutrients and information. Researchers have been studying these networks, known as mycorrhizal networks, and they're discovering all sorts of fascinating ways that plants use them to communicate. One of the most interesting examples of plant communication is the way that they use these networks to warn each other of pests and diseases. When one plant is under attack, it can send signals through the network to its neighbors, warning them to increase their defenses. A particularly compelling study found that when one plant was attacked by aphids, it released chemical signals that warned nearby plants to increase their defenses. The nearby plants then began to produce chemicals that repelled the aphids, protecting themselves from the pests. This study shows that plants are capable of complex communication, and it's not just limited to warning each other of pests. Plants can also communicate with other organisms, like fungi and bacteria, to get the nutrients they need. Another study showed that plants can even communicate with each other through the use of root exudates, which are chemicals released into the soil. This study demonstrated that plants can coordinate their behavior to achieve common goals, like increasing their access to resources. The implications of these findings are huge. If plants can communicate with each other, it could fundamentally change the way we think about ecology and conservation. By understanding how plants communicate, we can gain insights into the complex relationships between organisms in ecosystems. The key point here is that while plants may not talk like humans, they have their own fascinating ways of interacting with each other. They use complex networks of chemical signals and fungi to communicate, and it's amazing to think about all the ways they're talking to each other right under our noses. If you've got thoughts on plant communication, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your take on this fascinating topic. And if you're interested in learning more about the secret lives of plants, be sure to check out my next video on the weird and wonderful world of plant behavior.